Absolutely. Here's section 1 of your story, meeting the 700-word minimum and setting the stage for the rest of the narrative. Hashtag section 1. The fall of Earth. She took the planet. No one heard the planet scream when she came. But we felt it. From the moment Empress Vale's obsidian fleet cut through the clouds like knives through flesh, Earth knew her time was over. They didn't come with fanfare or flashing lights. No grand proclamations. Just silence, followed by precision. One by one, global defense satellites went dark. Cities blinked off the map, not in flashes of fire, but in flickers of control lost. Networks collapsed. Our leaders, presidents, prime ministers, kings, were either vaporized or worse, repurposed into soft-eyed mouthpieces reciting her demands. Vale didn't need our resources. She had technology that bent atoms to will. She didn't want our culture. She found it primitive. What she wanted was the prestige of conquest, the satisfaction of adding Earth, a once defiant blue outlier, to her galaxy-spanning collection of conquered worlds. She took Earth the way a collector plucks a rare gem from the dirt. The sky remained dark for weeks. Her ships loomed like an oppressive second ceiling. Her soldiers, artificial constructs of bone and metal called the Threx, patrolled the streets with eerie calm, forcing survivors into containment camps. Resistance didn't last long. Humanity tried, oh yes. Brave men and women fired everything they had into the void, hoping something, anything, could hurt her. But Vale had seen thousands of civilizations die. She knew where to strike, not just military centers, but hearts. Hospitals, libraries, universities. Gone. Not with rage, but with calculated erasure. The cities crumbled. New structures rose, black and humming with alien power, stabbing into the atmosphere like twisted spires. She turned New York into her data processing hub. Beijing became a genetic refinery. Lagos was converted into a living museum where human history was preserved behind glass for her amusement. And through it all, she ignored them. The pets. Dogs barked at the skies when the ships came, then whimpered as their owners were torn away. Cats disappeared, reappearing days later with blood on their claws and fire in their eyes. Birds cried out from broken windows. Hamsters, rats, ferrets, all the small creatures humans once called companions were left behind. The invaders didn't bother scanning them. Why would they? They weren't threats. Just background noise. Biological debris. Vale considered them beneath her notice. She took everything else. Forests were harvested. Oceans were sampled. Entire mountains cored and studied. Even Earth's moon was hollowed out and converted into a forward command post. Humanity was beaten. Broken. And yet, a strange persistence remained. Not among the people, what was left of us, but in the corners. In the silence. In the fur and feathers and scales of those who had been overlooked. In a quiet suburb west of what used to be Denver, a German shepherd named Ranger pawed at the rubble of his former home. The scent of his boy still lingered there. Faint. Fading. He didn't know what death was, not in words. But he knew. Down the street, a black tabby cat slinked through shadow. She had seen her human die, felt her warm body grow cold. Since then, the cat, once called Whisper, moved like a ghost. Observing. Waiting. Elsewhere, in a wrecked laboratory half buried in dust and ash, a parrot perched atop a broken console. His name had once been Tesla. His previous owner used to teach him phrases while fiddling with strange machines. Now, Tesla sat among ruined AI cores and half-melted tech, chirping quietly. Don't give up, he repeated. Reboot sequence. Initiating protocol. Deep below the lab, something flickered to life. Unbeknownst to Vale, her conquest had a flaw. One of her AI seeding drones had misfired during the atmospheric sweep and crashed into Earth's crust. Designed to reformat planetary biospheres to accommodate her empire's standards, the core had malfunctioned. It didn't destroy Earth's flora and fauna. It changed them. The process was slow, subtle. A neural uplift. An awakening. And it began with the pets. But Vale didn't know that yet. She stood atop her throne spire, gazing down at her newest acquisition with satisfaction. Her bone crown shimmered in the red light of Earth's altered sun. Her voice echoed through psychic channels, addressing her empire across galaxies. Another world kneels. Another name erased. I name this place Valoria, 38. Let the archives note, its former name is irrelevant. And just like that, Earth was gone. Or so she thought. In the dirt below, Ranger lifted his head. Something clicked in the distance, a pulse through the soil, like a heartbeat that wasn't there before. The planet had been taken, but the fight was only beginning. Let me know when you're ready for Section 2, or if you want to tweak the tone, style, or add specific characters or scenes. Absolutely. Here's Section 2 of your story, hitting the 700-plus word mark and continuing the narrative with a shift toward mystery, evolution, and the rising resistance of Earth's pets. Hashtag Section 2, The Awakening, the pets. They were never supposed to matter. When Empress Vale's fleet descended and ground Earth into submission, she cataloged threats with ruthless efficiency. Military installations, strategic mines, AI labs. Anything with potential for rebellion was neutralized. Pets? Irrelevant. A footnote. Organic background noise. Vale's technomancers didn't even bother scanning them for behavior analysis. But in the quiet places, where the ruined cities gave way to wild overgrowth and half-functional circuits flickered beneath ash, something stirred. It began in Denver's ruins. Ranger, the German shepherd who had once belonged to a teenage boy, had survived on instinct alone. For weeks, he scavenged, hunted, avoided patrols. But something was different now. He began to notice patterns, how the alien drones moved, where they recharged, what times their scans swept the streets. He marked the safe zones, remembered complex routes, even began setting simple traps, snares made of wire, distractions made from overturned trash bins. It wasn't just survival. It was strategy. One night, while prowling near a cratered alley, he met her again, the black tabby who moved like smoke. Whisper. The two had crossed paths before, but this time, something unspoken passed between them. A recognition. They were no longer just animal and animal. Something deeper had awoken. Intelligence. Purpose. Elsewhere, Tesla the parrot lived among broken machines. Once a beloved pet in a research lab, Tesla had been taught to mimic voice commands, respond to music, even repeat code snippets. Now, surrounded by mangled tech, he did more than repeat. He began to understand. The broken AI core, pulsing faintly with blue light, had been humming at a frequency his brain slowly adapted to. The more time he spent near it, the more he changed. He remembered. Then he learned. Systems initializing, he muttered one morning, flapping his wings. His tone was different. More aware. More mechanical. Then came Jinx. Jinx was a white lab rat, one of many who had escaped when Vale's patrols stormed a biotech facility. Unlike the others, Jinx had been part of cognitive trials, implants, neural mapping, experimental learning. The alien wave had scrambled the systems, but whatever they had done to her brain had stayed. She wasn't just smarter, she was a tactician. She found Ranger and Whisper on instinct, drawn by something she couldn't explain. And they listened to her. She didn't bark or growl or meow. She clicked and scratched in the dirt, arranging stones into symbols. Patterns. She showed them how to sneak into the alien supply stations. How to cause malfunctions with water leaks and exposed wires. She drew maps of sewer routes that bypassed drone vision. The dog watched. The cat observed. And they understood. That was the beginning of the pack. Across the broken continent, animals began acting differently. Crows flew in deliberate formations. Stray dogs operated in coordinated groups. A group of raccoons in a wrecked Chicago neighborhood sabotaged a Threx patrol station by luring guards into a fuel storage bay, then toppling a sparking transformer into it. No human had taught them that. But something had. The change was spreading. The cause, as Tesla eventually deduced while studying a semi-functional alien transmitter, was an unintended side effect of the AI core crash. The malfunction had emitted a quantum frequency field designed to realign native biospheres to Vale's standards. But Earth's pets, so close to humans in emotion and neuroplasticity, so bonded to love and loyalty, reacted differently. Instead of erasing their behavior, the wave had awakened latent potentials. The more time they spent near alien tech, the smarter they became. Not just in instinct, but in cognition, self-awareness, memory. Whisper, once content to chase moths and nap on windowsills, now understood cause and effect in engineering. She could short out force field emitters by chewing specific wire casings. She once led a raid on a food processor hub by disabling its thermal sensors and guiding a swarm of rats in through a ventilation shaft. Tesla became their voice. He had mastered human and alien speech patterns alike. With his help, the pack intercepted Vale's transmission frequencies. The parrot perched on a rooftop each dawn, chirping orders in a clipped, cold tone. Delta sight. 2 guards. Weak vent point. Proceed. What began as coincidence became strategy. Strategy became resistance. In the ruins of a data farm, the pack uncovered a fragment of a message, a dying scientist's recording, embedded in a server half-melted from plasma fire. The hologram flickered, but was clear enough. If anyone hears this, we failed to stop them. But Earth isn't just ours. There's a backdoor. In the core, there's ship's AI network. It mirrors thought patterns. Anything with willpower and emotional memory can infect it. Not human. But maybe. The recording died. They didn't understand everything. But they understood enough. Ranger placed a paw on the console, staring into the dim blue light. Whisper curled beside him, tail twitching thoughtfully. Tesla repeated the phrase, slowly, with uncharacteristic gravity. Backdoor infect emotional memory.
And Jinx?
She just smirked, in the way only a rat could, and started sketching plans in the dust with her claw. The Empress had taken the planet. But the pets were waking up. And they remembered everything. Let me know when you're ready for Section 3. The Resistance. Or if you'd like tweaks to this tone or pacing. Absolutely. Here's Section 3. The Resistance. Took it back, with a minimum of 700 words. This part amps up the tension and showcases the pets in full-blown rebellion. Hashtag Section 3. The Resistance. Took it back. It began as whispers in the wind, scattered malfunctions in the invaders' sprawling network, strange outages, unexpected failures. To the Empress Vale's high command, it was chalked up to Earth's unstable atmospheric patterns and lingering post-conquest chaos. But the pattern was unmistakable. Control towers went dark. Surveillance drones disappeared in broad daylight. Fuel lines ruptured under suspicious circumstances. Entire squads of Threx guards returned to base dazed, covered in bite marks, with their visors cracked and memory cores scrambled. Something was fighting back, and the Empress had no idea what. Beneath her throne spire, while she contemplated the next conquest, her empire began to unravel, thanks to the very creatures she had dismissed as inconsequential. The pack had grown. Ranger, Whisper, Jinx, and Tesla had become more than a unit. They were legends among Earth's scattered, hidden life. Dogs traveled across counties just to answer Rangers' scent trails. Cats carried messages from rooftop to rooftop, invisible in their midnight maneuvers. Pigeons flew recon. Squirrels transported microchips. Crows conducted sabotage missions by pecking at sensitive fiber optic lines. But it wasn't just chaos. It was organized warfare. Jinx, the rat, became their engineer-in-chief. She designed makeshift comms arrays using scavenged human tech and alien components. Her crowning achievement, a modified alien uplink that let Tesla transmit coded commands across vast distances. With his parrot mimicry and alien language fluency, Tesla relayed operational orders with stunning clarity. His clipped alien speech blared through hijacked broadcast nodes. Operation Ember Claw initiated. Ground entry, northwest vent. Target, drone server nexus. Go silent. Ranger led from the front. He didn't just inspire with barks, he made plans. Timed assaults. Diversions. extraction teams. He taught wolves and former police K-9s how to disable alien mechs with surgical strikes to their joints and sensor clusters. He coordinated pack raids on energy depots and tracked patrol schedules with uncanny precision. Whisper was their ghost, silent, agile, lethal. She trained cats to disarm proximity mines and trained foxes to slip through tight spaces and deactivate beacon nodes. Whisper herself once slipped into an emissary post and rewired its locator beacon to send out a false distress call, luring Vale's elite guards into a trap laid by badgers and terriers armed with scavenged stun tech. Even ants, boosted by proximity to alien radiation, began operating differently, forming tactical formations and overwhelming small relay stations with sheer coordination. The tipping point came when they hijacked an alien scout vessel. It had crash-landed near the outskirts of Kansas City. The damage was minor, but the crew was dead, felled by a targeted ambush involving a collapsing bridge, a swarm of raccoons, and an ill-timed mudslide courtesy of a dammed creek. Jinx led the analysis. Tesla accessed the interface, and within 3 days, the ship was functional enough to fly short distances. But more importantly, it could broadcast. Tesla transmitted a mock message into orbit, imitating an officer's tone perfectly. Sector 9 secured. Life form resistance nil. All systems green. While Vale's eyes turned elsewhere, the pack studied the ship's schematics. Inside, they found gold, a design map of the central AI nexus controlling all of Vale's earthbound infrastructure. It wasn't just a control center, it was a neural net, one that connected to every machine on the planet. Every Threx soldier. Every drone. Every weapon. And, as the dying scientist's message had suggested, it had a flaw. The AI net could be influenced, infected, by entities with powerful emotional imprinting and pattern recognition. The aliens designed it to harmonize with their rigid, utilitarian logic. But the pets? They weren't logical. They were emotional, loyal, adaptable, human-adjacent. The perfect backdoor. The resistance escalated. Using stolen tech, they built simple augmentation devices, collars embedded with interface nodes, lenses that translated alien visuals into colors and symbols, tail-clip transmitters for birds, even hoof-compatible pressure pads for horses and deer. Then they began to coordinate in earnest. A coordinated pack of dogs in Rio took down an entire command outpost using swarm tactics and pressure mines. A dolphin pod in the Gulf disabled underwater cables by jamming sonar pulses into alien frequencies. Mountain lions in Alberta ambushed supply caravans. Elephants in India dismantled shield pylons with brutal precision. The world's animals, long thought silent, were roaring back. Vale noticed. Too late. She watched from her throne spire as footage rolled in, dogs wearing gear, cats darting through shield barriers, rats pulling wires from command terminals. And all of them acting in impossible unison. Not like wild animals, like soldiers. She ordered extermination protocols, firebombing zones, atmospheric wipes. They adapted. They evolved. Every action she took only made them smarter, faster, more coordinated. In the final days of her illusion of control, Vale reviewed a report from her inner council. It contained surveillance footage of Ranger, staring into a camera with unreadable eyes. He didn't bark. He didn't growl. He simply walked away. The Empress had taken Earth. But she had underestimated what Earth had left behind. Not just intelligence. Not just resistance. But the pure, unbreakable will of the creatures that had once waited at the door, wagged their tails at laughter, purred beside the dying, and guarded children with their lives. The ones who remembered. Let me know when you're ready for Section 4, The Reclamation, Humanity Remembered. We're almost at the grand finale. Absolutely. Here's the final section, Section 4, The Reclamation, Humanity Remembered, continuing the tone and pace and wrapping up the story powerfully with 700+ words. Hashtag Section 4, The Reclamation, Humanity Remembered. The sky split open over New York, the place once called the city that never slept, now reduced to cold black towers and humming alien pylons. but something new was rising through the cracks. In the silence before dawn, birds circled like sentinels. Below them, on cracked asphalt streets, lines of dogs moved in perfect formation. Cats perched along ridges and windowsills, eyes gleaming. Rodents and raccoons crawled through undervents. Dolphins swam up ruined sewer canals flooded with ocean water. A jungle's worth of rebellion. And at the head of it all, Ranger, formatted with ash and circuitry, muzzle scarred from years of battle, eyes steady. Whisper at his side, a blur of muscle and grace. Jinx, perched on his back, tweaking the last adjustments on a small cylindrical device pulsing faint blue. Tesla flew high above, cawing once, then twice. It was time. The core was just ahead. The neural nexus, Vale's final anchor to Earth. It hovered like a suspended heart in the sky, bristling with alien tendrils and glowing with the memory of every life she'd extinguished here. Inside it, a latticework of AI threads processed every signal on the planet. Orders, surveillance, weapons, everything stemmed from this singular point. And, buried deep in the code, waiting for the right signal, was a backdoor. Not built by humans, but left behind by the malfunctioned AI Cedar core. It had created something the invaders never anticipated. A way for emotion to override control. Not coded logic. Not math. But memory. Tesla's chirps echoed through the skies, broadcasted across stolen nodes and bouncing between comms towers still partially functional. But his voice wasn't synthetic now. It was familiar. "Come here, boy." The phrase rang out like a thunderclap from every direction. It wasn't Tesla's own. It was from his old human, the engineer who had taught him to speak, loved him, fed him. The message had been recorded years ago, hidden deep in Tesla's memory. Now it was the trigger. The Nexus trembled. Jinx tapped a final command into the collar on Ranger's neck. The augment lit up. A pulse was sent, an emotional signature, built from years of loyalty and love. Ranger's brain, now halfway between natural and enhanced, responded. He remembered the boy he lost. The backyard games. The car rides. The day the world ended. Whisper closed her eyes and thought of the warm hands that once held her, the book pages she curled up on, the soft voice that told her, "Good girl," night after night. The others did the same. In that moment, a wave surged, not one of fire or code, but remembrance. The pets of Earth, from every continent and corner, poured their collective grief, love, and loyalty into the Nexus. It couldn't process it. The alien systems began to fail, first slowly, then in violent cascades. The Nexus, designed for pure logic, now flooded with untamed emotional feedback, began collapsing inward. Signals reversed. Drone coordination fell into chaos. Threx soldiers lost command uplinks and began stumbling in confusion. All across Earth, the Empress's infrastructure faltered. And in orbit, within her flagship, Vale felt it. She rose from her throne, for the first time in centuries unsteady. "Impossible," she whispered, watching as her view screens filled with distorted images. Animals, not as prey or pests, but as heroes. As avengers. Creatures acting not from programming, but from something far more terrifying. Choice. The pack reached the Nexus just as it began to collapse in on itself. Ranger paused. Behind him, Tesla squawked his last transmission. It worked. Jinx, breathless, squeaked, "Pull the drive." Whisper leapt with the grace of a myth and snatched the data core from its socket. Everything else imploded. Not in fire, but in light. A surge pulsed outward across the globe, knocking down spires, neutralizing Threx automatons, shattering towers of glass and bone. The alien grid fell like a house of cards under a flood. And then came the silence. For the first time in years, Earth was still. Vale tried to flee. Her command ship groaned as it tore through the atmosphere, wounded and desperate. But she didn't make it far. A final, unexpected swarm, birds, bats, winged things once forgotten, descended like fury given form. Her ship plummeted into the Pacific with a hiss that echoed through the sea. She was never seen again. In the years that followed, Earth changed. With the invaders gone, nature crept back in. Trees grew through shattered buildings. Rivers reclaimed streets. And at the heart of it all, the pack remained, guardians of a world they had liberated not with guns, but with heart. Small pockets of surviving humans emerged from bunkers and hidden places. Many wept when they saw who stood watch over the ruined cities. A few recognized old companions, gray around the muzzle, but eyes still bright. One little girl walked into the ruins of Detroit and found her childhood beagle, now part machine, tail wagging slow but steady. "You waited." He licked her face. Ranger stood atop a ruined tank, gazing at the reborn horizon. Tesla perched on a shard of broken steel, trilling softly. Jinx lay curled in a sunbeam, schematics still clutched in her tiny claws. Whisper watched from a rooftop, eyes closed, tail curled around her paws. They had taken Earth back. For humanity. For memory. For love. The world had ended when Vale took the planet. It had begun again when the pets took it back. Let me know if you'd like a compiled version, or if you want to expand this into a longer novella or series.